transition to the right.
Okay.
And then let's move to the title slide.
Can everyone see the title slide?
Not yet. It's on the holding slide.
My apologies. That better?
No. Yeah.
We go.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening for this community conversation hosted by the Pennington Environmental Commission. The title of tonight's discussion is Energy at Home and in Our Community. And this conversation is really about energy more broadly, though. It's about how we use energy in our home and our community, the choices we make and the opportunities that are available currently and in the future, and how Pennington is thinking about these issues as we move forwards, especially through the development of a community energy plan, which we'll talk about. My name is Kieran John, and I'm chair of the Environmental Commission. One thing I do want to emphasize at the upfront is that tonight is really intended to be practical and community based. It's not a technical planning workshop or something where we're going to go through a lot of detail around policy or a lot of minutiae around initiatives. Instead, what we really want to do today, the goal is to help explain a little bit about why communities across New Jersey are increasingly focused on energy and share with you a little bit about what we have learned as a commission from a survey that we did a few months ago with our Pennington community around topics related to energy and perspectives. And Joanne will talk about that shortly. We also want to introduce the community energy plan, which we'll talk about at a high level and talk to you about that. It's a work in progress. And finally, we want to leave enough time to really spend some time talking about practical information and resources that you can use as a community member, whether you're a resident or you have a business here in town, things that you might find useful. So this is really also, I want to mention that this is meant to be the first in a broader series of community conversations tied to energy. This is now, I think, our fourth community conversation that we've run over the last year. We did one on recycling, we did another on greenscaping, another on stormwater, and the next couple of community conversations is going to be on energy. And whilst today we're talking about home energy, there are other aspects in those future community conversations that we want to touch on, such as solar or EVs or other things like that. So really see this as really being the first of several things. If you can move to the next slide, GP. For those that may not be familiar with the Environmental Commission, we are a volunteer advisory body made up of Pennington residents with a range of backgrounds and experiences and perspectives. And our role really is to assess and anticipate environmental issues affecting the borough while working closely with borough administration, with local organizations in our region, and also the broader community, most importantly here in Pennington. And often the way that I think about our role as a environmental commission is as a conduit. On one hand, we help take information, initiatives, priorities from the borough and translate them into outward communications to the community, because there's a lot of amazing work that the borough is doing, but sometimes we just don't hear about it. And one of our roles is to try to communicate that. At the same time, we help bring community priorities or ideas back to the borough and really help make them part of the conversation. And so tonight is a perfect example through this community conversation of how we're having that dialogue, and we're listening to you, and we're also sharing information as well that I hope you'll find useful. If you can go to the next slide, GP. I want to just briefly, if you'll allow me, introduce and acknowledge our Environmental Commission members. As I mentioned, we are a volunteer group of citizens. we dedicate a significant amount of our time and energy towards projects like this. And some of our projects as a commission involve longer term strategic efforts that take a number of years to see through, such as this community energy plan and this stream of work, or for example, the Arboretum that we have behind Tollgate, which is a multi-year project that we work on, whilst other projects are more short-term and maybe they're focused on outreach, education, specific projects. So that hope gives you a sense about what we do as a commission. I'd also really like to encourage you as community members to try to join our environmental commission meetings. They happen monthly. It's open to the public. We love it when guests come in and maybe you're just listening, maybe you have something to contribute. It's perfectly fine. Details are on the borough website on how to join our meetings. If you can move to the next slide, GP, please. I wanted to throw in a slide here around the power of community, because I think one theme that runs through much of the work that we do as a commission is the idea that environmental outcomes in a town like Pennington, which after all is a relatively small town, is shaped by a lot of smaller individual decisions that happen, but they add up collectively over time. And I think energy is a perfect example of that. I mean, choices that we make individually around our home energy use, heating and cooling, transportation, solar, all of these things collectively shape the direction that we move in as a community. And that, I think, is an important concept. And so this is why I believe these sort of touch points are helpful. And it's really one of the reasons why we wanted tonight's conversation to focus on the things that we are addressing here. If you can move to the next slide. We're today very pleased to have three amazing speakers join us. First of all, Milena Guimarães, who works at Sustainable Jersey. What Milena will talk about is she's going to help frame how energy has become such an important focus for New Jersey as a state, the country, of course, New Jersey, and our municipality, and how the community energy plans fit into that. And then we'll hear from Joanne. Joanne is a member of our environmental commission. She's also chair of the Hopewell Valley Green Team. We affectionately call her the Queen of Green, and we're very lucky to have Joanne part of our team here. From there, we'll transition to Jean Marie. Jean Marie Ryder is from PSE&G. We've known Jean Marie for a little while as a environmental commission. And what Jean Marie will talk about is some practical programs, incentives, resources that are available from PSE&G. And I think that it'll be useful for our community to hear these things. Now, PSE&G are just one of the providers of energy in our community. There's Elizabethtown, and at future community conversations, we will have the opportunity to hopefully invite them and be part of it. And then, of course, an important part of today is to leave time at the end for discussion and questions and your insights and your thoughts as well. So if you move to the next slide, GP, actually the next slide was the agenda. I've talked through that, so we can move on. Very quickly, my next slide, GP, is really just around housekeeping. I just want to mention a couple of things. The session is being recorded. And a replay will be available at the borough website in a few days. Please encourage your friends, if they're not able to join today, to listen to this. I think there's a lot of great stuff in here. But because it's recorded, please can you put yourself on mute? And then as we get to the end of the meeting, when we have the Q&A, we will use the raised hand feature in Zoom, and we will and you can introduce yourself and share any insights that you have. So that's all that I have to set things up. I'd like to transition over to Milena from Sustainable Jersey to take us through the next stage. Milena, are you?
Perfect. Thank you so much for that introduction. And like Kieran said, I'm Milena. I work for Sustainable Jersey, and I basically do energy efficiency work, all the different technical assistance programs like community energy planning. So I'll talk y'all through a broad overview, and then I know Joanne is going to deep dive into that. So as you may know, the Energy Master Plan, New Jersey's Energy Master Plan, has really ambitious goals for the state. Goals like including an 80% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, achieving 100% clean electricity by 2035, and also prioritizing equity and inclusive planning throughout the clean energy transition. So the Energy Master Plan serves as a roadmap for achieving that clean energy future because it outlines the sectors, technology, and policy changes that we really need to see in order to transition away from fossil fuels and toward a more sustainable economy. Importantly, the plan recognizes that community-level action is essential to meeting the state's climate and energy goals. In order to support municipalities in this effort, the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities created this grant program to assist communities in developing community energy plans that align with the Energy Master Plan. So these community energy plans are basically there to help translate these energy goals that we see in the EMP to serve as more practical local strategies. So community energy planning is a collaborative process that enables municipalities to work alongside the residents and stakeholders to create that cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable community that we all love to see. So during the process, municipalities are able to evaluate their energy goals. They can also review data that Sustainable Jersey provides for them to inform their decisions when picking initiatives. And again, ultimately, we want to see municipalities identifying initiatives that align with their priorities. Community energy planning also helps establish clear implementation steps and build a strategy for advancing the initiatives over time. So when you develop a community energy plan as a municipality, you gain a roadmap for reducing emissions and advancing local sustainability goals in the next few years. The planning process encourages meaningful community engagement, as we're doing here today, and it serves as a tool for improving quality of life within the community. So as you can tell, the community energy plan is much more than just a report. It's really a roadmap for action. And the process, again, includes the selection of initiatives, engaging stakeholders, residents, and identifying near or long-term priorities. One of the most important functions of a community energy plan is connecting broad state goals with these practical municipal actions. For example, a statewide clean transportation objective can translate into local initiatives such as expanding EV charging infrastructure, electrifying municipal fleets, and implementing anti-idling policies. Again, another broad goal here could be improving building energy efficiency, enhancing safety, and supporting low and moderate or LMI residents. This all could translate into a specific initiative that you see on the right, such as conducting residential energy efficiency outreach campaigns and supporting low and moderate income community solar subscriptions. So this is kind of our menu of potential initiatives, and there are more, which will be on the next slide, but just want to give you an overview of what is kind of possible when you're writing your community energy plan. So the transportation strategies could include, again, purchasing alternative fuel vehicles, EV charging, improving municipal fleet efficiency, and others. Renewable energy initiatives can include solar generation projects, geothermal systems, renewable energy purchasing, and more. There are a lot. I don't want to talk you through every single one of them, but just an idea. Energy efficiency initiatives can include benchmarking municipal buildings, conducting building tune-ups. And then there are also additional strategies that focus on green building practices, energy storage. And there are also these initiatives are organized within 6 major topic areas based on the Energy Master Plan. And then this is just the rest of those potential initiatives. So the Community Energy Plan Grants Program combines funding from the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities with technical assistance from Sustainable Jersey. So that's our role. We're contracted by the BPU to provide these resources, meet with all the municipalities that are doing this planning, and basically just support them through the process. So that's everything for me. Also, just want to point out that Pennington has been doing really, really great work, and they're also super focused on what matters to their residents. So Joanne will discuss more on how this process was made possible through receiving feedback from the community and just go further into the specific details of their planning process.
Thank you, Milena. I think that broader context is important because it helps explain why communities are increasingly focused on these things and why communities are pulling together energy plans. But as she said, ultimately these conversations need to connect back to local priorities and local perspectives, and that's where Joanne is going to share some insights.
So great. Well, thank you for that great introduction, Kieran and Milena. It just sets up what I have to talk about. So my first part of my presentation will be about what we heard from our community as a result of the survey. And I hope that all of you, most of you who are on this call actually had a chance to take the survey. Let's go on. Good, it's working. Each year, our Environmental Commission has been conducting a community survey so that we can do a better job of representing all of you. And this year, our survey focused on energy as designed to help inform our community energy plan. The goal was not to say at this point in the process, not to say, here's our 5 solutions, what do you think? But to hear back from our residents about what people are already doing, what their challenges are, where they think our future focus might be. So we have a bigger group think about this as we're launching into the community energy plan. The survey results have given us some useful local insight that will complement the broader energy data and planning guidance that we'll get from Sustainable Jersey and use it to develop our plan. So I want to share with you a little bit about some of the responses. We got 130 responses. We think that's great. Responses came mostly from Pennington homeowners, which was our goal, but we also heard from businesses and community stakeholders, and they're going to be an important part of the process going forward as well. So it's good to hear from them, but we were able to sort out who's who. Participation spanned multiple age groups, particularly strong engagement from middle-aged and older residents. Next slide. So our residents are interested especially in practical energy improvements. For example, question 5B asked, in the next 2 years, which of the following home energy actions are you seriously consider, except select all that apply? And you'll see that, we gave 4 different possibilities and across a broad range, and there are people engaged in planning to do all of them: insulation, heating, cooling upgrades, heat pump installation, different kinds of solar. But a significant number of people were not sure. They hadn't really thought that far ahead. And so, or they're looking for more information. And so that helps us to know where we need to be going. But also important to note that the interest in future improvements definitely exceeds the current adoption levels. We have asked people what they're already doing and then asked what they wanted to do, and people go, oh yeah, we're going to do a lot of stuff. And that's how we all are. We're ambitious, but let's see where this all leads. And again, it reinforced that people are generally looking for practical and achievable ways to improve energy efficiency and reduce energy use. They want to, save money and also, be gentler on our planet. The things that were the biggest barriers were cost, lack of information, and complexity. Upfront expenses remained a major concern, and some of the programs you'll hear about later actually have ways to help allay some of those costs. So it's important for people to know that. There's information, what exists, what are the programs, what are the incentives. Get a barrage of stuff from PSE&G and Elizabethtown Gas, but sorting through it all can be really difficult. And that's the complexity too. People aren't sure where to even start. it's wonderful we have so many programs, and you're going to hear about a bunch of them, but people need a little bit of help getting started sometimes. And that's something that we'll be able to address as an environmental commission and in our plan. So next, one of the programs you may have already heard about is this is a broad program called the New Jersey Clean Energy Program. Anytime you see that symbol, you know you're in a good place. There's lots of incentives available that people don't realize or don't know how to take advantage of. And the feedback, all this feedback that we received will help us shape the focus of tonight's community conversation. We felt that it's important for us to start to get, even before we have a plan, let's tell people what's out there, because people are ready to latch onto some of those programs. And that's where we are. Residents prioritized, we asked them, there's a lot of different things that we could put in the plan, things like helping households and businesses lower their energy costs, focusing more on the borough-owned properties, making it easier for people to get rebates, looking, were a lot of different things. And we felt that residents really prioritize practical support, but also we're looking at a broad range, not just a single focus for what we should include in our community energy plan. So that's good. This survey will inform the next phase of our plan development. I want to note that several residents offered to help with our process, both the planning and the implementation steps that come later. And if you are one of those people who would like to help, if you already said you'll help, we've got your name. But if you aren't and you want to help, feel free to put your name and email your name into the chat. We've got your emails from when you logged on, and we'd love to have more people working on this. There's a lot to be done. And so the survey's one input into the community energy plan process, but we have a lot of other things to keep in mind as we develop it. And so that's where so next I want to talk just a little bit more about what the community energy plan is. Here we go. So just for some context, and Mylena laid a little bit of this out, New Jersey has an energy master plan. It was updated in 2024. It's an ambitious goal of 100% clean energy by 2035. Pennington Borough has a goal as well. The Pennington Borough Council adopted a resolution that said borough operations will be carbon neutral by 2035, meaning that if we aren't completely electrified and getting everything from renewable energy, whatever we're still getting that is causing greenhouse gases, we should offset it somehow. And then they charged the Pennington Environmental Commission with figuring it out, and working with, of course, borough staff. The resolution also directed the Environmental Commission to use municipal efforts to become carbon neutral as a way to educate and encourage borough residents and businesses to also become carbon neutral. And so with that in mind, when this opportunity to do a community energy plan with lots of support came along, we thought, well, we have to do it anyway. Why don't we jump in right now and get started? So what is community energy planning? Well, it's the municipal team working with stakeholders identifies a list of initiatives, and they detailed the initiatives in the context of what our past energy uses have been, what we're using now, and looks at lots of strategies and plans for future initiatives. And that's what I want to focus on in part of my presentation, just to give you a sample of what do strategies and initiatives look like. The community energy plan, when we finalize it, will include initiatives related to the topics that Mylena mentioned earlier. A community energy plan enables better understanding of how the energy is used in the community, a list of our past accomplishments, a clear, agreed upon set of energy initiatives to be implemented in the next 3 to 5 years. I think that's really important. We can say that, we want to get some stuff done, but putting together a plan with initiatives and how we're going to accomplish them and some, timeframes will help us to actually accomplish them. And also there'll be information on funding opportunities. It's important to note that having a complete community energy plan may open up additional funding options. For example, the BPU has CEP implementation grants. So we may be eligible for those as a result of having gone through this planning process. So that was also another key motivation for us. What the Environmental Commission is doing, well, we had a carbon neutral work group that was working on, carrying out the wishes of the Borough Council under the resolution. What we've done now is they've taken on the task of developing the plan. We've reviewed all the strategies and initiatives to see what's really applicable to Pennington Borough. Also look at level of impact and level of difficulty so we can prioritize what we need to do first and what maybe should wait a little while till it's a little easier to do, maybe new technology coming along, for example. We've got a rough draft of the CEP, and now we're focused on taking a little time to focus on community engagement and feedback, the survey, this conversation, and also Pennington Day, where we engaged a lot of people in conversation about different actions. And of course, we'll work with the Borough Council to finalize and adopt the community energy plan. It's important that they actually adopt the plan so that we can move forward with it. I want to lay out these strategies. Mylena had mentioned them earlier, and these are part of the New Jersey Energy Plan. And the recommendation is that a community energy plan should link back to the New Jersey Energy Master Plan as much as possible so that we as a state can move forward. So there's 7 strategies in the New Jersey Energy Master Plan. So sometimes you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. And I want you to know why 5 is missing. 5 is at a state level strategy to work on energy distribution systems. But the other strategies can apply equally well at the community level: energy, transportation sector, renewable energy, energy efficiency, building sector is kind of like a different way of going at energy efficiency, planning and actions with an emphasis on support for low and moderate income households, and then innovation and other new ideas that we come up with. So you saw this slide earlier. Here's the I can do this. Here's like the strategy 1 has a whole lot of possibility. Strategy 2 is a bunch. Strategy 3 is energy efficiency and conservation, and it's got just 4 really important ones. And I wanted to focus on that because that's really what we're talking about tonight. Residential Energy Efficiency Outreach Campaign, a way to share information and support our community. So here's an example. In the initiative 3.2, Residential Energy Efficiency Outreach Campaign describes what it is, talks about the different programs that you'll hear about later. And then it gives some examples. Like you might say your measure of success would be that 5% of your residents participate in one of the programs. A typical next step is to identify our utility partners, and we're kind of already starting on that, although the plan will be more thorough. Work with them to create an outreach plan and then implement it. Simple, but laying out the steps is an important part of the whole process. As was also mentioned, there's a whole lot of resources. This is another good reason to do this now. There's a whole Sustainable Jersey's offered us a data center, a whole booklet called The Guide for Sustainable Energy Communities, a template for us to work on our plan, and lots of technical assistance. And so this is the ideal time for us to be working on this. Finally, I just want to mention the importance of stakeholder engagement. It's critical to the success of the community energy plan. And we've got a broad range of stakeholders. I think I've got most of them here. If I'm missing some, put them in the chat. I'd really like to see that. We have to work with our mayor and borough council. This is going to be an official plan for the borough, not just something the Environmental Commission cooked up. We have to work with our borough staff. We need to work with all of our residents, our businesses, with civic organizations, and also with neighboring municipalities. For some things, it doesn't make sense for just Pennington to do. Why don't we do it with the two Hopefuls as well? Maybe even something broader and even a county level. So we need to be looking at all of our different stakeholder engagement as part of our process. And so this is just the first step. The actions we expected will be taken over the next 3 to 5 years. We'll tap into the resources that are available from New Jersey Clean Energy and other programs. And having a plan makes us eligible for some implementation grants. So we think that that's a worthwhile thing. And that is just an overview of the community, where we are in Pennington with the community energy plan. Thank you. And I'll stop share.
Thank you, Joanne. So I think, this is important background. This is very much a work in progress. This is not a fait accompli. This has not been done. It's something that we're going to need to put together. We are putting it together. We're working with GP and the borough administration in developing it. We're seeking input from our community along the way, and it's a stepwise process. But it's not a commitment to do everything. What this is just outlining. Here's a roadmap that we could look at, and then as we go through the next couple of years, we will need to assess that, and we'll have to determine what's really feasible. Is it too costly? What's the advantage? So all of that will come subsequently from this. And I think, a major theme from the survey was really around the importance of practical guidance and what are the available resources. So now we're going to sort of shift to Jean Marie, who's going to share some of that with us and talk us through some of the practical programs and incentives that are available. Jean Marie, are you able to share your screen? Perfect.
Yep, you see it? Good.
Thank you.
All right. Hello, good evening. So thank you, Joanne. That was a perfect segue into my presentation. So thank you. I definitely want to start out by just saying I love seeing all the great work and all the planning that Pennington and the Environmental Commission is doing. So kudos. It's really encouraging to see. And thank you for inviting me tonight. So good evening, everyone. My name is Jean Marie. My job is to promote PSENG's energy efficiency program so that all of our customers are aware of the resources provided to them. So as it's kind of been noted, energy efficiency programs help to support our customers. So that includes, townships, residents, businesses. We're helping them to achieve their sustainability goals by reducing their energy usage. Now, PSENG kind of has a long-standing commitment to helping our customers manage their bills and manage their usage. So I'm really glad to be here tonight to share some of the tools and the resources that are available to offer to you today. I will note now as well that if you or a friend is served by another utility company, they also have very similar energy efficiency program offerings. So feel free to visit their website. Some incentives might be a little bit different, but on the overall, they're very similar. And we're all equally committed to improving our state's energy usage. So I'll be talking about PSENG's incentives, but if you're not served by us, there are options for you as well. So this is just the slide kind of showing that we have a lot of different ways to engage with the programs as a PSENG customer. So as you see, there's a lot of different ways to get involved. And my goal tonight is to try to make this a little bit easier to understand. So I always say you can either get involved through our products or our programs pathway. The products pathway is best if you're looking to swap out one single appliance or maybe make one small upgrade, whereas some of the program pathways are better if you're looking for a full comprehensive energy audit and incentives to go along with that to help you upgrade the home. The programs are usually where we see the deeper measures and those greater energy savings, so I'll go more in depth with them as I go along. I'll start with our products. So the first one up is our appliance rebates program. So we offer there's two different pathways. The first one is that we offer retail store markdown. So the customer might have already participated in something like this program without even knowing it. Essentially, we offer discounts on high efficiency appliances right at checkout with some of our retail partners, including stores like Lowe's and Home Depot. Now, something that you can actually take action to achieve savings would be through our post-purchase rebate program. So this is when a customer purchases a high efficiency appliance that is Energy Star certified. You can see a list of qualified appliances here. So that includes things like washers, dryers, dishwashers, heat pump water heaters, refrigerators, freezers, and smart thermostats. Please make sure you keep your receipt if you purchase one of these high efficiency equipment, since you will need proof of purchase to submit for the rebate. And you'll also need information about the store where you purchased it. To give you a little bit of like an idea of what these rebates look like, at this time, you can receive up to $100 for a high efficiency washer and $300 for a high efficiency electric dryer. So you must be an eligible customer in order to submit a post-purchase rebate form. If you're interested in requesting a rebate, visit appliancerebate.pseg.com. It's on the slide right here. There you can fill out the online form. And I'll note I do have my email up at the end, so if you have any questions filling this out, I'm happy to answer. So up next, we have appliance recycling. So did you know PSE&G will actually pick up and haul away old but working refrigerators and freezers and then offer you a rebate for the removal? I know like my parents took advantage of this for an old freezer that they had lingering in the basement, so it's helpful sometimes just to get rid of some of your energy users that you're not actually using. As a customer, you can schedule to have them come out. They'll pick up to 2 refrigerators or freezers. And while they're on site, they will also offer a rebate to remove up to 2 room air conditioners and up to 2 dehumidifiers, but they will not come out solely for the removal of those smaller appliances. So we'll have to be in partnership with a refrigerator or a freezer. Now you must be a PSE&G customer to participate in the program. And on the screen, you can see that we actually have a promotion going on right now. It'll end on June 30th. We're pretty much just offering a little bit of a higher rebate right now. So as of today, it's $150 per refrigerator or freezer picked up and up to $50 per dehumidifier or room air conditioner picked up. So act now if you want to see those additional savings. You can schedule at pseg.com/recycling or call 1-844-356-4608. Next, we have HVAC rebates. So this is where we offer instant rebates for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipment that is installed by one of our participating program contractors. You can see here, this includes equipment like water heaters, heat pumps, air conditioner units, boiler systems, and furnaces. To give you an idea of what these rebates look like, we currently offer a $450 rebate for a heat pump water heater. We do offer incentives for both gas and electric appliances, and you can learn more about the specific rebates for different parts and different pieces of equipment at pseg.com/HVAC rebates to find a participating contractor and to learn more about incentives for specific equipment pieces. And then finally, for our PSE&G marketplace, this is pretty much PSE&G's like one-stop shop for purchasing new energy efficiency upgrades. In order to shop, you must be a PSE&G customer. At the time of checkout, you will have to verify with your address or your account number, so you have to be an active customer. We offer products including smart thermostats, advanced power strips, window air conditioners, efficient shower heads, and they're not listed on this slide because it's rather new, but we now offer larger appliances, including dishwashers, washers, and dryers. Those are while supplies last, so feel free to check. There's a little bit of an ebb and flow with what's available. Also keep in mind that sales fluctuate, so sometimes things are highly discounted or even free. For example, smart thermostats, usually if you watch at some point through the year, we have those up for free. So feel free to kind of browse and go back and check to see what sales we have on at those times. And then on the screen, you can see that we have limits for how many times per every year or per every few years on how many you can purchase of certain products. And you can check out pseg.com/marketplace to see what we have available. And that will conclude the product side. So as I said, those were all really more intended for if you need a one for one or you're looking to upgrade one single thing. I'm going to move now into our programs. And this is, like I had mentioned, where we see those deeper energy measures. They're very specific to your home, and it includes an energy audit. So like I just said, all the programs begin with a home energy audit. So that means that one of our contractors will come out to the home. They'll do a full audit of your home's energy usage. So they'll look top to bottom, soup to nuts, and figure out kind of where you're wasting energy or where you have potential saving opportunities. And then they'll offer you advice on how to reduce that energy usage. And then they'll explain some of the incentives that we have available to help make those upgrades more accessible to your home. So I am going to kind of go in detail. This will show all the programs are income based, so they vary based on the income of the customer who's paying the PSE&G bill. This graphic really just shows the different options or the different pathways that we have. And I'll talk a little bit more in depth about each one. So first up, we have whole home energy assessment. So at our whole home energy assessment, this is a completely free energy assessment for any of our PSE&G customers. You can expect to receive personalized recommendations for reducing your energy usage, and that's usually related to like your HVAC system, your lighting, your insulation, air leakage in the house. When you participate in the program, you can also expect to receive things like an efficient shower head, power strips, LED light bulbs, pipe insulation, maybe a smart thermostat if it's applicable. And then at the end, you'll receive a customized report that'll be delivered to your email. It'll evaluate your current energy usage. And if you are interested in scheduling, just keep in mind they're kind of scheduling a few weeks out. So you could check it out at pseg.com/WHEA Whole Home Energy Assessment. This is a really easy way to get involved. It's free. All of our customers are eligible. So if you're interested in kind of dipping your toes into energy efficiency and learning a little bit more about your usage, this is a really easy way to start. Now, up next, we have the Whole Home Energy Solutions program. Now, this program is best for those who are not otherwise eligible for income-based programs. This is where we see deeper energy saving measures as compared to the assessment program, which I just talked about. The program similarly starts with an energy audit, but this one is a little bit more thorough. So usually your tech will have to go into your attic if it's accessible and safe, into the basement. They'll do a little bit of a deeper assessment. They could be there for 1 hour for your whole home energy assessment. They could be there for up to 3 hours for your whole home energy solutions. It's a little bit of a deeper evaluation. At the actual installation, they'll even do a blower door test. So that's kind of just comparing your home's energy leakage and where it's seeping out of the walls or the windows. So they'll show you a before and after if you do participate in that program. So once they do the assessment, your contractor will offer suggestions based on their findings in your home specifically. So this could include things like a new HVAC. I think my next slide has it. It could be like new HVAC equipment, increased insulation, things like that to try to help seal up the home. So how it works is they'll make their recommendations, like it says here, it could be a boiler upgrade or replacement, a hot water upgrade or replacement, a furnace upgrade replacement. They'll make their recommendations that are specific to your home, and then they'll work with PSE&G to calculate your incentive, which is based off of your potential energy savings. So if your home's more likely to save more energy based off of the upgrades that you're making, then you'll receive a higher incentive. The incentive goes up to $6,000, which you'll take off the top of the cost. And then whatever is remaining, you can finance on your PSE&G bill at 0% interest for up to $25,000 over 7 years. And you can work with your contractor to figure out that financing. So this just kind of helps with the upfront costs if you're looking to get more efficient appliances, use less energy in the home. And the goal is that if you're using less energy, it offsets the cost of having to make those upgrades. So you can learn more about the program at pseg.com/WHES Whole Home Energy Solutions. From there, you will have to pick a contractor from our list of participating contractors. Our quote unquote preferred contractors have an image of a little trophy next to them, but you can select anyone on the list. They've all been vetted and are verified through our system. So next is our home weatherization program. Now this one, I won't go into too much detail because the actual execution of the program is a little bit similar to the one I just explained, but this one is for our moderate income eligible customers. So that is a household between 250 and 400% of the federal poverty guideline. It includes some of the similar upgrades that I explained and a similar audit process, but they can also be eligible if they're located within a moderate income census tract, if their primary residence is located within an overburdened community, or if the resident currently participates in the federal safety net partnership program called New Jersey Shares. So if you know anyone or if yourself is eligible, you can refer them to psgg.com/home weatherization. These are the income guidelines for this year, just to give you an idea. If someone is eligible for this program, all of the upgrades come at no cost to them for up to $7,500. Finally, we have Comfort Partners. This is actually a program which is managed by the utilities like PSE&G, but it's implemented by the Board of Public Utilities. I won't go into too much detail because, again, this is similar where it starts with an energy audit followed by recommendations. This one is also at no cost to the customer. So this is pretty much if anyone is at the lower threshold or below. So it's 250% or below of the federal poverty guideline. This is the most comprehensive program, I will say. It's intended for our low income customers and it offers additional upgrades, including fridge and freezer replacement, ongoing energy counseling, things like that. If you know someone who could be eligible, if you're eligible, please make sure to get involved. It's a no-cost way to reduce energy usage and to really try to manage those energy bills. This is our demand response program. We call it Flex Power. So how it works is that you can sign up. You'll receive a $50 sign-on bonus to participate in Flex Power. How it works is that you're allowing PSE&G to adjust your smart thermostat during our peak usage event. So those are usually like those hottest days in the summer. They can slightly reduce your energy usage. I think I've heard it's usually about like 2 degrees. They'll change remotely from your smart thermostat. You will be notified ahead of time through email, and you always have the option to opt out. But you will receive $50 to participate. And then if you are ongoing participating, you'll receive $25 each year that you remain in the program. It's essentially just to try to help us manage load during those peak usage events, because that's when we usually see the most impact on our electrical grid. Now, if you don't have a smart thermostat, there is another option. I don't have a slide about it, but you can come to pseg.com/flexpower. That's where you can sign up. And that's where you can learn more about the options. If you don't have a smart thermostat, you will have to manually change it. If you fail to do so, you won't continue being enrolled in the program. So it's a little bit more on your end to have to control it. We also have an option for businesses, small businesses, to participate as long as they have a less than 300 kilowatt hour annual peak demand. This only takes place between June 1st and October 31st, and it takes place on weekdays between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. So it's plus or minus 3 degrees during those events. I will quickly go over our residential EV charging. So if you're interested in having an EV charger installed at your residence, PSE&G will help with up to $1,500 towards the cost to install the charger. So that's the cost for the electrician to actually physically install the charger at the home. And then we'll offer up to an additional $5,000 towards what we call the make-ready costs, which is pretty much if you needed a new transformer or if the service had to be upgraded to accommodate the new load, we'll cover up to the first $5,000 to help you with those costs to install the EV charger at your home. Finally, please keep in mind we do have energy efficiency programs for our business customers as well. So it's not only for our residential customers. As you can see, there's a whole ton of pathways for them as well. And that's really based on what they're trying to accomplish with their sustainability goals, how much energy they use, what their facility looks like. It similarly starts with an audit, and then we make a plan from there. If you own a business or if you know someone who owns a business who's interested in finding out how they can reduce their energy usage, again, my contact will be up at the end. I'm happy to help them walk through. Our business customers get, is if they're, especially if they're a larger business, we usually have a point person who will help them to walk through their upgrades. This slide here is really just general helping you manage your energy bill information. I'll just walk through it quickly. Energy saving programs is all about our energy efficiency programs. So if you go to pseg.com/home energy, you can see all of those programs that I just talked about. So it's a good one-stop shop just to learn about all the energy efficiency offerings for our residential customers. Bill payment assistance is for those who are behind on their bills and need assistance catching up. Tips and tools are just good energy saving tips. If you're looking to implement them at your home, you can find those at pseg.com/save energy. And finally, our equal payment plan. This is really just if you're looking to have a predictable budget for your energy bills. So you can choose to enroll in an equal payment plan where you're paying the same amount each month. And then at the end of the year, you'll either receive whatever balance you're owed back or you have to pay if you still owe more. And it just helps people with budgeting through the year if they're looking to manage energy costs that way. And that is the end of my presentation. And this is my contact on the screen. Please feel free to send me an email if you have any questions about getting involved in energy efficiency programs. And Kieran, I'll kick it back to you for the Q&A.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's awesome. So I think there's a lot of amazing incentives and programs that are available, and it's just a matter of knowing about them and knowing that they're available. And that's something that we want to try to do as a community, make these available. So we started this at the beginning hearing about why energy has become such an important focus across communities and how communities are increasingly using community energy plans to think more strategically about their energy use. And then Joanne talked us through what we heard from our community through our community energy survey that we did a few months ago, and some of the things that I think are going to be really informative as we build this out. And then she introduced the plan itself and how that's a work in progress and how we're thinking about that and what all is involved with that. And then we really got down to some of the specifics, the incentives and programs that Jean Marie talked through, which I think really came up in the survey as the things that people really want to hear about. So I think it's all useful information, and as we develop our approach and our plan moving forward, making this available in a bite-sized and an easy-to-follow format is one of the key things that we need to try to be able to do, because I'm sure everybody wants to participate in these things, but they just don't know how to go about doing it. And so that's one of the things that we need to focus on. At this point, I want to see if there are any, love to hear if anybody has any perspectives on what they heard. Maybe you've had some experiences of doing this. You've already participated in some of these programs that you can share. Are there any questions before we close out for today?
You want us to raise our hand?
Yeah, if you could use the raised hand feature in Zoom, please, and then GP can call on you.
Is anybody else having trouble finding it?
Yes, I don't see it.
Yeah, it's not there.
I did have a question though.
Yeah, we're a small group. Maybe we can do it that way.
Yeah, so this is Brian Friedlich. My question is for Jean Marie, and specifically about the home energy audit process. My question is, well, it would be nice if you could kind of step through like an example of how of someone doing that process. And, I guess one of my questions was, can you use any contractor you want? And then a follow-up question was, let's say out of the home energy audit, there's a recommendation, but your contractor wants to do something different than the recommendation. Is there the ability to go back and forth as to the actual upgrades?
Sure. So if you don't mind, I'm actually gonna share my screen, if that's okay, really quickly, just so I could show. I think it might make it a little bit easier to see how you kind of get started. And again, it is income eligible, so I'll explain a little bit the different pathways. But if you go to homeenergy.pseg.com, you land on this page. And if you scroll down a little bit, we here have the Use the Home Energy Assessment tool. This will help you to figure out which program you're best eligible for. So are you a customer? Yes. How many people? Let's say two. Let's say we're here and we're in Mercer County. So I was recommended to do the whole home energy assessments and the whole home energy solutions. So the solutions is what your question is more about in terms of actually doing the upgrades. So you'd come here to find a whole home energy solutions contractor. And this is where, so you can't just be anyone. It does have to be someone who's eligible in our program, who's certified. We call them our trade allies. So they do have to be a verified registered trade ally in our system. You can see here now like the list, and this is where I referred to like that little trophy kind of symbol. Or quote, there are quote unquote preferred allies. It doesn't mean they're better than another one. It just means they've performed more projects or we have more information on their outcomes. But this is where you would select your contractor, and then you can call or email them to contact to schedule the assessment. So that's just so you know, that's kind of what signing up looks like to do the whole home energy solutions program. So once they come out to the home, and I'm sorry, I stole the screen, you can take it back. Once they come out to the home, they'll do the audit and they'll make their recommendations. You are able to discuss with them. Let's say they said, hey, you need a new hot water heater, and you say, I'm not really comfortable upgrading my hot water heater. They do have to take that back and recalculate the incentive because, like I said, incentives are based off of your potential energy savings. So your incentive might look different if you remove something from the list. But you are able, you're not forced to make any upgrades at your home that you're not comfortable with. You can talk to them about what best fits your home and your energy usage.
And are they the ones that ultimately perform the work, or can that be someone off of your list?
No, it will be them who performs the work if you want to receive the rebate and the financing options.
Gotcha. Okay. That was very useful. Thanks.
Yep, no problem.
One.
So I had a couple questions. One is, so in Pennington, we have PSE&G for our electric, and we have Elizabethtown Gas for our gas. So if I'm going, if I decide I'm going to replace a gas appliance, and I just want to get the rebate, should I go to Elizabethtown Gas for that? Or as long as I'm a PSE&G resident, can I get rebates from you for gas appliances also?
Now, I'm fairly certain it's interesting for the one for one. I'm worried that I could be wrong, but I know for sure if it was the whole home energy solutions, you could, even if you're replacing a gas piece of equipment, we can cover that. For the one for one, I believe the answer is yes. I will get it back to you because I'm not 100% certain about that. But I know in general, we do long-term what we call energy sharing. So if you're both utilities, we ultimately share in the energy savings. So I want to say the answer is yes, but I will double check for you on the one for one swap outs. That's the only thing I'm not 100%. But if you're doing the whole home energy solutions, then yes, we can upgrade a gas appliance for you, even if you're not served gas.
And so just another question related to what Brian was just talking about, the home energy solutions assessment. You contact the contractor. This all
11 o'clock.
and then they come out and do the assessment. Do you have to pay the contractor anything for doing the assessment, or do you pay them if you decide you're not going to do anything, or is there it just all all these programs for everybody's like, well, that's too good to be true. So I want to be able to answer all those questions.
It is dependent on the contractor. So some of them charge and some of them do not. So that could be something that you ask when scheduling. So it might be also an incentive to go with one contractor versus another one. I will say the one I used at my home did not charge for the audit. but some of them will charge somewhere between like $100 and $300. So it's definitely a good question to ask when you're looking for a contractor.
Oh, great. Thank you. That's a good tip.
Yeah. And some of them also will charge you for it. And then if you move forward with the project, they'll put it towards the project cost. But again, just worth it to ask them when you're scheduling.
This is Andy Jackson. I had a question. I heard you say for the electric vehicle charging that you would pay $5,000 towards any upgrade, but you mentioned the word transformer. How frequently does somebody have to replace a transformer at the utility pole to upgrade their system? And does 5,000 even come close to covering that?
It's more frequently the service line that needs to be upgraded, and usually the $5,000 does cover. I would say in the majority of our cases, that does cover all of the make-ready costs.
Okay. I had a couple of other future type questions. I'm not sure whether you're the right one to answer these, but probably 3 years ago, we all got smart meters. And one of the promises about smart meters was the ability for your smart meter to communicate with your appliances and help you control the amount of electricity you're using and when you're using it. For example, if you had a dishwasher and it had the right software to drive it, it could be, you push the button in the evening before you go to bed or in the morning before you go to work, and it doesn't start. It starts up when PSE&G has electricity available, and it charges you a lower rate. These have been talked about for some time, but it's not really anything that we've seen yet. When are we going to be able to take advantage of our smart meters in order to save costs of electricity by buying it when it's available at a lower rate?
I do not have an answer for that question. I can tell you that it's at least not through this current program cycle. So I'd say at least till the end or mid 2027. But I'll bring it back to my team. I don't think it's my team that works on it. It's actually a different line of business that works on the smart meter work. It's a great question. I don't have the answer for it though, but I will raise it.
And related to that is another use for your smart meter is if you get something like a Tesla Powerwall or one of these very large scale batteries to install in your house, the smart meter could also be used to charge those batteries when there is excess electricity available from PSE&G and reduce the costs. And that would in turn reduce your capital cost to invest in peaking power, which you may not need anymore. So that was another idea you could pass on to your group. And finally, the other one is what we call bidirectional charging for vehicles. A number of companies, General Motors and others, are looking at, and in Japan they've been doing it for some time, what they call vehicle to grid, where you charge your battery up, but then if you are not needing the vehicle, the utility can suck into that energy and pull it back into the grid for peaking. And those are also smart meter concepts. So there's a number of things that have been talked about. I taught courses on energy, and we were talking about these 10 years ago, and I haven't seen them happen yet. The technology is there, and it really is to shave the peaking power and hopefully get rid of it. You have an approximation to that, and that is the one where you can pay the $50 and then they'll turn your air conditioning down. That is very minor compared to what could be done if, proper advantage was taken of smart meters and storage of various type. And so it would be nice to hear about that sometime in the future. Somebody who could tell us, because we're looking for a community energy plan that's going to look out to 2035 or longer. There's not much point in making a community energy plan if we don't know that there are some major things coming down the road that we or our residents can take advantage of.
Yes, and I actually do know we've talked about some things like that. I've heard a lot about the bi-director. I've heard about that a lot at conferences and stuff, but we are looking into greater uses of, storage, even just like battery storage accessibility, and what we're calling demand response, which is essentially electrification, and being able to move power along the grid like that. We're definitely having those conversations. a lot of these upgrades we make in partnership with our regulatory body. So it's hard for me to say like, yes, we will do that. No, we won't do that because it is an ongoing partnership. But I will definitely keep you in the loop as I learn more or work in partnership with our environmental commissions because I think it is important work.
Yeah, the battery, hooking a battery to the grid and taking advantage of cheap electricity off the grid is a good idea, and it's practical for people who cannot have solar power for some reason. I mean, my only roof that faces south has about 3 dormers on it, and it would not be viable to put solar power in unless I turn the house around. But it would be viable to put a power wall in if I could charge it at off-peak rates.
Yes, it makes sense. And two other like things I will just quickly plug while you mention that. It's not implemented through PSENG, it's implemented through the Board of Public Utilities. But if you're interested in community solar, if you're not able to put solar on your building, you are able to participate in like a shared solar farm, and then any cost savings that they receive, they'll put directly onto your PSENG bill. I don't work too directly on that to know, but if you just Googled like community solar around you, you'd be able to find some of the farms, and you participate by actually signing up on a specific community solar project. So you can shop around a little bit. A lot of them are in a wait list right now, but you can shop around to see who has a smaller wait list, who plans to have a larger saving on your energy bill. It's a good way to get involved in solar if you're not able to put it on your own home. And then one other thing I'll mention as well is if you looked up, and I don't work in this area of the company, so I can't speak a lot to it, but I know we have a feature called My Meter. And this is what our smart meter is doing for you, at least now, is where you can really track your energy usage. And I believe you can actually even see like rooms, time of day, like you can kind of go in 15-minute intervals to see where your energy usage is going. So if you yourself want to learn more, if you have a smart meter and you're eligible, it's called My Meter. If you just Google PSEG My Meter, you could find the link. And it can help you to inform about some energy usage at your own home as well.
That brings me to another comment. I get the monthly statement saying, how much I'm using compared with other people around me. And I have a heat pump, and in the winter I get these horrendous messages from PSE&G say I'm using 200% of the electricity of everybody else close by. What are you doing? Well, I'm actually operating a heat pump, and I'm putting less CO2 in the atmosphere, and I'm not consuming gas because I'm doing that. So, and
You're not the
I wrote to them once and said, can you please take advantage of,
Yeah.
let people know how good they're doing by having a heat pump rather than letting them know that they're terrible compared with their neighbors. So you can maybe pass that on.
I've heard that feedback before. And I think as we rely more on electrification, it definitely is going to have to be implemented into the behavioral. We call that our behavioral program. It'll have to be implemented into the program for sure.
The only counter to it is I get a great letter from Elizabethtown Gas saying how little
Yeah.
electric gas that I'm using. If the two could get together and say, when you combine these two, this is how much CO2 you are saving. And I've done the calculation. I know how much I'm saving. It's about 1.5 tons a year of CO2 from having a heat pump. Doesn't cost me any less because unfortunately the cost of electricity is heat value of electricity is 5 times the cost of the natural gas. So you don't necessarily save, but I feel good that I'm putting less CO2 into the atmosphere. Be nice to get a pat on back from the PSE&G on my electricity use for that.
I hear you. I've heard it before. Yeah, it's a very good point.
EP, did you have a comment to add?
Yes, it might be timely at this point to introduce just a couple of quick comments on behalf of the municipality, because it's important to reinforce the message to all of the individuals, not only those on the meeting, but also those who have casual conversations about such matters, that they're certainly not alone, and that the power in community, to Kieran's point earlier, is that in the aggregate, we can definitely sway things and also navigate through some of these complexities. There have been a lot of terms mentioned tonight: peak shaving, load shedding, all of these things, industry buzzwords and the like. And for those of us who have been dealing with these things for a while, it makes more sense, but they can be confusing. And I think one of our core messages and obligations is to carry the message into the community that we are also a clearinghouse, a resource of sorts for helping to navigate those complexities. Community solar that Jean Marie mentioned may be an option for us. You know, Pennington Borough is only a square mile, and we have very dense housing. And Andy had a beautiful example with his roof dormers. But we are also working on our end, looking at through the master plan and zoning changes, facilitating and encouraging through zoning changes the installation of solar, for example, in ground-mounted ways, carports that have better exposure than a rooftop. It doesn't have to go onto a rooftop. You can put it on the ground if you have the room for it, or in the community garden way that Jean Marie was describing. We're exploring all of these things along with government energy aggregation that we are rekindling so that we can harness the power of the group in terms of negotiating better deals. These are all things that we're working on. So I want to just reinforce the message to all of the individuals, everyone in the meeting, that we see this as a community challenge and a community responsibility and a community effort. And we are more than willing, we are actively working on it. Now, Andy knows this better than anyone through his efforts in master plan generation, to support the individual residents' efforts, also commercial property owners and the like, through municipal government. So please, if you have questions, concerns, looking to make a contact, you can always reach out to us.
Yeah, and I think, GP, that's where this community energy plan comes into. We really see the value of it, because there are so many things that fall within under the purview of this broad topic. And having a way to organize that and allow us as a community to start looking into things like community. I know you're already looking at that, and bring that to the community about what we find around community solar programs, this and that. And I think that's very useful. Maybe just one question for Milena. Milena, you talked a little bit about how the CEP is an important stepping stone to future funding. Can you give any more color to that, and about the importance of how this is sort of a gateway to other funding that we can receive as a municipality?
Yeah, so I think Joanne also had a slide discussing this a little bit, but the most important part of the community energy plan is basically having, your set of initiatives. So then you know what funding you're looking for, and Sustainable Jersey can also provide the assistance there once we know what you're looking to tackle and what projects you really want to implement. It's easier for us to give you recommendations, because otherwise, there's so many different initiatives there and a lot of funding, and also funding can change pretty frequently. So it just makes it more feasible, I guess, to figure out what funding to look for once we know what you're really looking to do. I know the Community Energy Planning Implementation Grant was also mentioned. So that was offered, I believe it was to program year 2, but those projects are still going on. And I don't know if we have confirmation right now from the BPU that there will be another round of funding specifically. So I think we're just waiting to hear on that, but nothing open at this time, I feel, for that. But yeah, so there are different things. For example, with that, once you have your community energy plan, that's what is going to help you craft your application. And then I think in general, just, all of those different funding sources out there, you're doing the background work to really submit those applications and let them know if you want chargers, if you're looking for funding for chargers, how many chargers you're looking for, you have the background work, you can more easily identify locations, even some of the incentives that Jean Marie is talking about. PSEG offers make ready funds. Correct me if I'm completely making this up. But a lot of the utilities offer things like that too. So it just becomes easier for us to kind of guide you down that path. And even for personal research, to be honest, because then you just know what you're looking for at that point, and it becomes easier to kind of go down the list and figure out what makes sense.
Okay.
Just have a comment. We're actually very lucky to have GP in the position of administrator, because GP has done a lot of experimentation with alternate energy, and I think he's very knowledgeable about this whole field. So I feel that we really will get support from the borough administration in terms of this. I do have a
Absolutely, and
question,
it can be so overwhelming. So that's why I underscored the message. Nobody should feel as if he or she has to navigate these waters alone.
But talking about overwhelming, a lot of the stuff we've been hearing over the last year or so about the huge demand for electricity from data centers, and what impact that's going to have, since the grid seems to be limited and relatively slow at being able to introduce new sources, what impact that is going to have on the price of electricity, A, in New Jersey, and B, around the country. Because, we're going to tell everybody to go and invest in electricity and electrification, and all of a sudden, the prices are going to be out of this world. Now, I don't know that that's the case, but we need to understand that aspect of the future, and that could be something that Sustainable Jersey and the BPU should be looking into. How do we reassure people that we're not setting them into a trap by putting them into a position where they could, because right now with hydrofracturing and horizontal drilling, the cost of gas is going to remain very low. Natural gas, I'm talking about, notwithstanding the fact that we have this problem in the Gulf right now, but in general, it's going to be low for quite a long time. And I know the utilities are using natural gas. The combined cycle natural gas is an extremely efficient way to generate electricity. It's about 60% to 62 or 63% thermally efficient, which is tremendous because of the combined cycle. So we do need to understand what are the longer term prospects for both the cost of natural gas and the cost of electricity, and how should that factor into our pressurizing people to electrify.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we do know is this is going to continuously evolve, and it's going to change from administration to administration and year to year. And that's why I think, the Environmental Commission, along with borough operations, along with borough council, along with our community, if we stay on top of this, we'll be able to navigate this. And having a plan and a roadmap is going to be key to this. So let's, if there are no other questions, let's close out. I think this is recorded. So as we've found in other community conversations, a lot of people go back and look at this when they have time. And so we want this to be, and I think we've done a really good job this evening putting this out there. And I want to thank our three speakers. I want to thank Milena, Jean Marie, and Joanne for what they shared. Very clear, very helpful. This effort involves a lot of other people as well as a community. There's the Carbon Neutral Working Group, and there are various other people that are involved. Putting on today's presentation itself involved others: Jim Fugger, Nell Horton, Nancy Fishman, and I want to recognize them as well as the Carbon Neutral Working Group and everybody here for doing an outstanding job. And most importantly, thank you for joining and being part of this, whether you're here live or whether you're watching this as a recording. We very much appreciate it, and we hope that this is going to be the beginning of many conversations. I don't think we don't want to overwhelm, so we're going to do this in small bite-sized pieces over the course of time, and then find a way of organizing that and making it accessible to the public. So continue to stay engaged, keep an eye out for the future and from things that we'll offer. Thank you for joining, everybody, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.